Hello, my name is Jillian Chapman. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Lake Bluff Public Library. Today, we are joined by author Kate Messner. She is the award-winning author of Over and Under the Snow, Over and Under the Pond, Over and Under the Rainforest, Over and Under the Canyon, and Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt, as well as more than a dozen other books for young readers. Kate lives on Lake Champlain with her family. When she's not writing, she loves spending time outside, cross-country skiing, hiking, swimming, and digging in her gardens. Today, we will be discussing Up in the Gardens and Down in the Dirt, which will be this year's summer story walk in partnership with Lake Bluff District 65 and the Lake Bluff Park District starting on June 4th at Artesian Park in Lake Bluff. The Summer Story Walk will coincide with our Summer Reading Club, also beginning on June 4th with the theme of Growing Readers. We hope to see you there. Kate, thank you so much for joining us today and the Lake Bluff Library. We're really excited to have you here. Kate Messner is an author, and so we're here to talk about Story Walk.
I am so excited to be here with you, and I love that you're doing Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt for your story walk. This was such a fun book to work on.
Oh, that's wonderful, and we'd love to hear. Have you always been a writer?
You know, I have always been a reader ever since I could hold a book. And I think being a writer grows pretty naturally out of that. So I've been writing poems and stories since I was, maybe 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess when it calls you, right, that's the thing that draws you in.
I think so. And for me, it's always about curiosity, right? Like I'm one of those kids who was always like poking around in the garden and bringing insects home and butterflies and things like that. So I think you can kind of see that curiosity in my books now.
Yes. What inspired you to write Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt?
So Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt is actually the second book in our Over and Under Nature series. The first one you can see up behind me there, Over and Under the Snow. There it is.
Right.
And this book was actually inspired by a school field trip, believe it or not. I used to be a middle school teacher, and every winter we'd take our students snowshoeing in the Adirondacks. And on one of those snowshoe field trips, we saw these little bitty tracks that led to a hole in the snow and then disappeared. And the guide, the naturalist who was with us, got really excited and said, "Look, we've had a visitor from the subnivean zone." And so we talked about all the animals that live under the snow. And that was really the spark for Over and Under the Snow, which then led us to explore a whole bunch of other hidden worlds. So since that first book, Chris and I have done Over and Under the Snow, Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt, Over and Under the Pond, Over and Under the Rainforest. Also, Over and Under the Canyon is our newest one. There it is. Wow. Okay, you're not going to have this one yet because it doesn't come out till September. Over and Under the Waves is out in September, and that'll be about the kelp forests of Monterey Bay in California.
Well, I can guarantee you we will have it at the library when it does become released to the public.
Oh, that's so nice to hear.
Do you work often with Christopher Silas Neal's, the illustrator?
Yeah, Chris has illustrated all of the books in this series. And so it's interesting, when I wrote the first book and didn't know yet who was going to be illustrating, I was envisioning, I wonder what the art will look like. I was envisioning all kinds of different styles. But now when I write these books, I'm imagining I'll write a scene and I'll think, oh, Chris is going to have fun with this one. So it's really fun to have that relationship over, we've been working together for 10 years now.
Oh, wow. That is a long partnership, and the books are absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you. They're a joy to work on.
Are you a big gardener?
I love my vegetable garden. I'm not a great indoor gardener. I kill indoor plants like that. But I love outdoor gardening. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just started gardening during the pandemic, like everyone else. So it's been a whole brand new process.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. It's the garden and the sourdough, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's a whole new world for sure.
Yeah. My favorite plants to grow. I love cherry tomatoes. That's hands down our whole family's favorite.
Oh gosh, that was my next question. What's your favorite plant? or
Love to grow
favorite to
cherry
plant?
tomatoes and
Okay.
basil, especially, and cilantro. I like to grow kind of a mix. And we don't have a huge garden. I mean, we don't have a ton of property, but love the tomatoes, love the herbs, and always some flowers around the edges too.
Do you have a favorite meal that you like to create harvested from your garden?
I do. I make a just a really simple, tomato, basil, mozzarella salad. Sometimes with chickpeas, sometimes with some chicken. But yeah, those tomatoes and basil. Ah, love it.
That sounds delicious. Um, what is your favorite thing about gardening?
Um, I think the anticipation, especially living in northern New York State, spring is always such a long time coming. And in northern New York, where I live, it's usually, second or third week in May before you're really safe planting those seedlings. Usually people say after Mother's Day, then it's okay. Then we're not going to have another frost. So just the anticipation, and when you finally get those seeds or those seedlings in the ground, watching them grow and seeing that process, the first blossoms, and then your
Mhm.
pollinators arrive, your bees and your wasps and your butterflies, and then knowing, being able to watch that whole process. I think it's really great to remember where our food comes from.
And it's definitely so therapeutic getting your hands in the dirt and just like getting into it and spending time on something that is outdoors, especially for me, I found to be really kind of great when everyone was trapped inside for
Yeah,
so long.
absolutely. And really, that's what this whole series is about, right? It's about getting outdoors, whether it's in the snow or in the garden or, going paddling on a pond. It's good for us. We know that. We have a lot of research to show that it's good for our heads, it's good for our bodies. It's, fresh air is as a healthy thing. So yeah, it's really what this series is all about. Not just getting outside, but then reminding us to look closely when we're there so we don't miss what's around us.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite part of the book? Of
Up in the garden and down in the dirt.
Mhm.
I do, in this whole series, there's always a big spread. It's usually a predator situation. So I am fond of when the character is hunting grasshoppers with a net, and then that garter snake shows up and is also hunting
Oh no.
grasshoppers.
Let's see if I can find it if you don't mind me showing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see here. Oh, I've got the robin.
Kids
Um,
always love this spread because it's kind of exciting. Someone else is hunting too.
oh no.
There it is. That grasshopper is about to become
Oh
lunch.
no.
It's not like
I
the
love that they
peaceful,
snap.
quiet scene, but it's one of my favorite illustrations that Chris did, because that's part of nature too, right? Things need to eat. And
Yeah.
if things are going to eat, things need to be eaten as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the book and the process of how it travels through gardening and just being outside and kind of how nature interacts with our spaces and just how we interact with it.
Yeah, and I think we forget sometimes, it feels like as people we have a lot of work to do in the garden, right? We have to sow the seeds, we have to water, we have to keep the weeds at bay, but we forget that the natural world does a whole lot of the work for us too.
Mhm.
Not just the earthworms and the insects, but other animals that are fertilizing the garden, and the bacteria, and that's breaking down the organic matter into soil down below. So I think it's really neat to think about what that bigger picture looks like.
Right. Yeah. And that the whole thing with composting and fertilizing dirt and getting those worms in there, there's so much that happens in the ground below the plants before we even see them, before they even sprout up. It's just a whole nother world. And it's really amazing how it's just kind of emulated in your book.
Thank you. It was really fun to work on. It's a world we really, Chris and I really wanted to celebrate. We're both gardeners. We both have small vegetable gardens, and we love not just growing vegetables, but actually, getting down on our bellies and looking really closely at what's going on down there in the dirt. So this was a perfect book for us to work on together.
Did you know him before this project or were you introduced to create the series together?
I did not know Chris. So actually, Over and Under the Snow was Chris's first picture book.
Oh, wow.
So the way it works is, as an author, I submit my manuscript to a publisher, and Chronicle Books is the publisher for this series. And Chronicle looks for an illustrator. So they actually found Chris and said, "Hey, we think this artist would be really good for this series. What do you think?" I said, "Oh, I think he'd be fantastic." And so once the first book came out and was so successful, it was kind of, just that you work together on all the books in the series. And it's been a real joy to be able to do that.
Do you know how many books you'll have going forward with this series after the
I can't give you a number. I mean, I love this series and I will write them as long as people will read them. But I can tell you, we've got Over and Under the Snow, Up in the
Mhm.
Garden and Down in the Dirt, Over and Under the Ponds, Over and Under the Rainforest, Over and Under the Canyon. That's 5 out now. In September, we'll have Over and Under the Waves. And then there's going to be at least one more book. Right now, Chris is actually working on the art for Over and Under the Wetlands, which is about the animals and plants in the swamplands of South Florida. So that one will have
Oh, lovely.
lots and lots of birds and turtles and snakes. And of course, what would a swamp be without alligators? So that one's been
Ooh.
really fun to work on too.
Oh, I bet. That sounds everyone loves alligators, even I do. That sounds a lot of fun, and the books are just a real joy, and we have all of them at the library, and they'll be available, especially this summer as Story Walk is going. And then we also have this book for Up in the Garden and Down in the Dirt.
Awesome.
Um, I'm so grateful that you could join us today and talk a little bit about your series and your work. Um, yeah, those were my questions, but thank you so much, Kate. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. And I hope everybody enjoys the story walk and
Yes.
then reading the books on your own after the story walk, too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Nice talking with you.
Thanks so much. Really nice to meet you, too.
Have a nice day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have Story Walk coming up on June 4th. And if you have any questions about her books, be sure to stop by the library. We do have all 5 available and they will be available in the children's department. And we hope you have a lovely day. Thank you.